Herkese merhaba arkadaşlar, kanalıma hoş geldiniz. Yeni bir Sherlock Holmes Chapter One videosuyla tekrardan karşınızdayım. Arkadaşlar, destekleriniz için kanala abone olmayı ve videoyu beğenmeyi unutmayalım. Şimdiden iyi seyirler. En son sapıkların partisini polis basmıştı. Ondan sonra karakola düştük. Bakalım şimdiki görev ne? Şu elbiseyi bir önce değiştirelim de. Böyle, böyle gezelim şimdilik. O yerle bir konuşalım bakalım.
Did you hear Basilio Coppello?
Tiplere bak lan.
May I ask you something? I don't talk to ruffians. Sorry.
O köylülerle de elbiseyi değiştirsek.
Can I ask you a question? Excuse me? What? I'm not sure I know. You obviously haven't thought this all through. Or are you just annoying these people? But on purpose.
Cheers!
Did you hear Basilio Coppello?
Diyelim yok. İntikam. Kopellezi. Kopellezdir şirketi elde.
Did you hear Basilio Coppello?
Ünlü Armor Copello, ev güvenlik şirketinin sahibi olan Basilio Copello'nun tutuklanmış olması ilgimi çekti. Durumu çok ilginç. Nicola Dette adındaki bir adam Basilio'nun dükkanında bir kasada ölü bulunmuş. Basilio masum olduğunu öne sürdü de kanıtlar ona karşı. Basilio karakoldaki nezarethanede
In the
tutuluyor.
police. Let's pretend to be cops, eh? We can just stand around and look confused.
Bölüm nezaret nerede lan?
Don't look at them. They'll serve us if necessary.
Şerefsizlere bak lan.
Look, I found Werner.
Hapsedilen Vogel. Cesedi bulduğunu iddia eden ve satanist ritüeline tanık olanlardan birinin ifadesine göre Manchios malikanesinde baskın düzenlenmiş, birkaç şüpheli tutuklanmış ve maskeli ve cübbeli bir grup ahlaksız ve doğal dışı davranışlar sergilerken yakalanmış. Kurbanın cesedi göğsünde bir bıçakla bir sunağın üstünde bulunmuş. Polis memurları kurbanın kimliğini tespit etmiş. Fabio 20 yaşında yerel bir sahne sanatçısı. Tutuklanan şüpheliler Vogel. Vogel'in üstünde kurban tarafından yazılan ve hakaret içerikli bir mektup bulundu. Cesedi kendisinin bulduğunu iddia ediyor. Egzantrik kişiliğiyle tanıyor. Sherlock Holmes. Kurbanın kanını taşıyan bir hançeri, cinayet silahını ve başka delilleri üstünde bulunduruyordu. Diğer şüpheli olan Vogel tarafından davet edilmiş, muhtemelen resmi soruşturmaya engel olmak için. Manchios malikanenin ve satanist partisinin organizatörü. Önde rol alması için kurbana para ödemiş, olay mahalline erişimi varmış. Batista, Fabio'nun ortağı ve törendeki eşlikçisi. Tutuklanmamak için kaçmaya çalıştı. Sunak odasında gerçekleştiren töreni anlatan bir kitabı vardı. Konukların bazıları sorgulanmak üzere gözaltına alındı.
Back on track to solve the case.
Ben Santos Binchetti Büyük Saray'daki Manchios malikanesinde cinayetin tanığı olarak ifade veriyorum. Parti hazırlıkları sırasında kapalı olan sunak odasından gürültüler duydum. Canlı kurban fikrinin Kurt Manchios'tan çıktığını düşündüm. Duvarlarda kan, garip sembollere ve yüreğe saplanmış hançer vardı. Düzgün düşünebildiğimde hemen karakola gidip ifade verdim. İfadeyi isnaden bir devreye gönderdi ve tanık da karakoldan çıkıp eve gitti. Bu iznin sahibi olan 62-60 numaralı vakayla ilgili her türlü delil inceleme iznine sahip. Min Sarayı. Bu. Hinçetli gözaltına alınıp sorgulanması gereken bir şüpheli ifadesinde bahsetmediği bir anahtara sahip. Hinçetli'yi alacağız.
I can't go back to prison. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald. You are Matista, Fabio's friend.
This body, yes, it's Matista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
Please accept my condolences for your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
Tipe bak lan. Kan dolu morluklar. İlkel okült dövmesi. Okült. Kırılmış tırnaklar. Gergin. Oo, paçalara bak, psikopat. Yapmış. Eski iyileşen kesikler. Dağlama demiriyle yapılmış yanı güzel. Karı bildiğin psikopat la, manyak. Eski ve çok az belli olur. Pranga yaraları. Sahne sanatçısı ve Fabio'nun partneri Matisse zor bir hayat yaşamış. Çocukken damgalanmış ve köle yapılmış. Köleyken benzer damgaya sahip Fabio ile tanışmış. Kötü anıları ergenliği sırasındaki köleliğin bir sonucu. O travmatik deneyimler onu rahatsız etmeye devam ediyor. Mistisizme derin bilgi besliyor. Bedenini okült dövmelerle kaplamış. Matisse geçmişini aşmaya çalışıyor. Sahne sanatlara ait para kazanması için bir fırsat olunca bu.
You have both old and new scars. Some from the time when you were a slave with Fabio. Other scars have a different origin. The guests pay good money to torment you?
I am skilled in giving pleasure, but I don't participate in such practices.
I thought your body was...
For sale? It's true. Many unwanted things were done to my body. And the pain helped me to discover...
Occult deities? Yes, the tattoo speaks loudly of it.
Yes. Your gods abandoned me, and the ones I favor now are more protective of me.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day. We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Gordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
The bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes. I know I can handle the news.
Werner, are you all right?
Oh, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother spent quite some time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the police everything I knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Ha! What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death for me.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
I suppose that in the pursuit of justice, if truth was ineffectual, then one must resort to other means to achieve the outcome. I would do it.
Oh, Sherlock, that is sweet of you. Alas, if the police are after hard evidence, then I suppose neither truth nor lie would do.
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti,
Do I know him?
the major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. All but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him. I know you can untangle this mess.
Is this familiar to you?
It's hard to say when I don't know anything.
Bir zihin sarayına bakalım da. Hapistanın morlukları. Hapiste perdedeki konuklarla olan şiddetli etkileşimler sebebiyle vücudunda çeşitli morlar, şişmanlar oluşmuş. Tekrar bir bakalım. Benim mevzu. Hastayı Fabio mu? Locasında kavga esnası Fabio masaya morartmış. Fabio Matista'yı morartmış. Bence bu la.
Good day, Mr. Manchios. I am Constable Oswald's partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained boors.
Orospu çocuğuna bak
Although
lan.
I don't mind meeting young officers, the new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the Boers again.
That voice. Werner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the entire department through my consultations.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy after all.
I need to examine you first.
Gözlemle. Makyaj yapıyor. Saç boyası sebebiyle döküntü. Tırnaklarında sabun var. Elini yıkayan bu mu? Yavşak katil. Güzelce cilalanmış deri. Abartı derecede pahalı. Temizlik takıntılı bence.
You are so focused on cleanliness that these products are severely damaging your skin.
I would laugh at you. Ha! If only my cheeks didn't hurt. Not exactly. I try to take care of my body. A young man who has yet to confront his own aging couldn't hope to understand.
These chemicals are quite literally melting your face.
Ah, the price of beauty. I'll be fine. I'm sure of it.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little details. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here with you alone.
I'd like to know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true labourers, I see. Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
He's a pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party.
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. I'll be sobbing.
An expensive champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services.
Santos'ta SUNAK odasının anahtarı vardı. Olay mahalline girebilirdi. Bu onu mükemmel bir şüpheli yapıyor. Arşivde bekleyen polis memuru Oswald'a onu bir şüpheli olarak sorgulamasını söylemeli.
That's not something I know much about. You'd better ask someone else. That's not something I know much about.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Manchios?
Of course. It was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive show?
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protégé and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him.
Mançöz kendine ahlaksızlık için dikkatle hazırlamış.
Hey, it's not as right now, I told him like this. You get over there.
I've nothing to say about this.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. He could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay here. They brought him in, Mr. Holmes. Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.
You can question Mr. Pinchetti in the interrogation room.
Yedinoğlu sorgu odası.
Mr. Pinchetti, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald.
I've already told him everything I know. I'm only a witness, sir. Everything's in my report.
And I've read it. You forgot to mention that you hold the keys to the room where Fabio was found. I need only to find if the crime was intentional.
But I need to return to my duties.
I doubt the house will fall without you, Mr. Pinchetti. Just be still for a few seconds.
Sedefe alerji. Birden fazla kez boyanmış kumaş. Kan sıçramış.
Is your greedy nature responsible for the lack of taste and attention to your appearance? The cheap makeup, shabby and dyed clothes? How do you explain those, Majordomo?
The means to practice my profession are limited. I'm sorry you noticed it, sir.
The parties overshadowed your state. You are lucky Kurt Manchios's attention was concentrated elsewhere. In a decent household, you would be asked to leave for far less.
Yes, his attention was undoubtedly concentrated on something other than my appearance.
But one detail stands out on your dirty rags and shoes. The drops of blood.
Oh, that. I don't know anything about it.
Kurbanı tanıyorum.
Did you
diyor.
know Fabio?
Not personally. He was a frequent guest, and cleaning the mess after his performances was tedious. Mr. Manchios always had a role for him, and mainly the leading one. The parties were always Fabio-centric.
And Matista? Was she as popular as her partner?
Don't tell her I said this, but I do not think so. Mr. Manchios hired her only because Fabio refused to work without her. Mr. Manchios used to see her as a worker. She was tasked with entertaining the guests, unlike Fabio, who could pick and choose.
Soracağımızı sorduk. Var. Bu nedir lan? Taşak geçiyor adamlar.
I recognize the key from the altar room among these. Mr. Manchios says that you begged him to be included in the heritage. Isn't that a little extreme, even for a majordomo?
He's not only my employer, he's my uncle. And I'm his next of kin. The only one. Mr. Manchios flatly refuses to pay a family member. All I have to do is repay his so-called love, cleaning up the filth after perverts and decadents. He's imprisoned me. The best I can hope for is a new broom. That's why I wanted to have my part of the inheritance.
Is it that bad? You have a roof above your head, a salary, and the status of a majordomo.
For God's sake. I'm forced to dye and stitch my threadbare clothes, and the holes in my shoes are painful. I'm ashamed every time a guest looks at me closely.
Why do you think your uncle treats you this way?
My mother, my uncle's sister, had me illegitimately. She died, and I was given the surname of one of the maids.
But you are entitled to some of the money that belongs to your family.
He thinks not. I was not responsible for my mother's death. I work hard, and he pays me nothing. I feed on the leftovers. While he wastes our estate's property on decadent parties, he paid Fabio handsomely and showered him with expensive gifts for their disgusting relationship. Please let me out.
Just annoying these people on purpose.
Good day. Your ticket, please, if you want me to help you.
Demek ki bununla konuşacakmış.
Don't waste my time. This is not a ticket. This is not a ticket. This is not a ticket. This is not a ticket. Don't you understand what a ticket is? Don't waste my time. This is not a ticket. Don't you understand what a ticket is? Don't waste my time. This is not a ticket.
I'd like to check the evidence from this case.
And who are you?
Oswald sent me. I'm a consulting detective.
His partner, then? Let me see. Ah, a ritual murder. What a bunch of degenerates. Wait a second. I'll bring it to the table. I'm busy. You've already used up your quota of me helping you.
A heavily perfumed handkerchief with the initials KM in the corner. It's a miracle this ruby hasn't tempted anyone. All the keys of the mansion on one golden ring. An emergency kit for boredom.
O gelin deli kutusunda bulunan mektup. Aklın yerinde misin? Hoşnutsuzluğunu gizleyemiyorsun. En azından benim etrafımda. Benim için bu tarz bir davranış göz ardı edilmeyecek büyüklükte bir risk. İstediğin kişiyle konuşup oynayabilirim. Ben başka bir Matiste değilim. Bana para veriyorsun ama beni satın almadın. Elbette cömert bağışlarını saklayacağım. Her ne kadar o son öfke patlamanı karşılamaya yetmese de seni bırakıyorum. Gerçi Matiste kalmaya devam edecektir Fabio.
Not the time for privacy. A handcrafted charm that contains hair and nail clippings. Her key to the altar room. That's not for bedtime reading. This ex libris belongs to Manchios Library.
Aşkın gücü ve kan adamı otu. Polis tutuklama esnasında bu okül kitabı Matista'nın çantasında buldu. Kitap etiketine göre cilt, Bay Manchios'un koleksiyonundan alınmış. Olay mahallinin ardından bir törenin görsellerini ve tariflerini barındırıyor. Kıymetli birinin yakın zamanda ölmüş çıplak bedenini hazırla, sahip olduğun gücü beslemesi. Erkek ve kadın doğasının gücünü kullanmak için Mars ve Venüs sembolleri çiz. Seni sevmeyen kandan kurtulmak için kalbine altın bir hançer sapla. Aşkını temsil eden bir sembol çiz. Dirilmeyi beklerken tılsımı
The
oku.
book describes a ritual similar to
Bu
the
ne la
one
böyle?
performed in the altar room.
Hayır, kendini bilerek mi öldürdü acaba?
Werner's personal sketchbook. Thank you, officer.
Beyin sarayında ne çıktı bakalım. Bu kızgın Santos Pinchetti'ye ve mektubun içeriğine bakılacak olursa bu mektup Kurt Manchios'a hitaben yazılmış olabilir.
Could Fabio have written this letter to Kurt Manchios?
Oh. That could be. I never thought Mr. Manchios could make Fabio that angry, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Fabio wanted to disassociate from Mr. Manchios. Clients who are in love are both a blessing and a curse.
But Fabio was here tonight.
Money. In our line of work, we can't afford to turn down clients who pay as well as Kurt Manchios.
Was Fabio afraid of Mr. Manchios?
Not at all. The old toad wouldn't dare to do more than sweet talk and touching. Talk can be forgotten, and touching washed away.
This book, The Power of Love, Blood and Mandrake, what do you hope to achieve?
To learn more about the invisible strengths that govern us. Occultism is real. The master who fell that night when Fabio and I escaped, I made him fall. I cast a spell on him and it worked.
Or was it a coincidence?
The universe is rarely so lazy.
If you say so. Do you practice occult rituals?
For protection? For fortune? To wash away the ugliness of the world? Sometimes to survive. I have the gift, and I'm learning to use it better.
Did you use your gift on Fabio?
I only used white magic. Love charms lately. Fabio became so distant. I just wanted him to be with me, but I suppose I'm not as skilled as I thought. I know I can handle the news.
Do you recognize this book? Could Matista have borrowed it from your library?
She didn't ask me. How ungrateful.
The things described in the book were inspiration for the rituals you performed?
Do you really believe that blood, symbols, and incantations can resurrect the dead? They are just eerie tales with a mix of occultism and voodoo. My rituals are a stage to show some of the forbidden pleasures.
There is undeniable evidence that you were the original recipient of this letter.
What are you talking about? Is it addressed to me?
Your protege wanted a fresh start, it seems. This is sufficient to charge you.
Me? Hurt my star? Are you insane that you would accuse me of such a thing?
He did not consider himself as yours. Since you deny everything, let's move on. Do you have any idea as to how the letter could have ended up in Mr. Vogel's pocket?
You were the detective. Perhaps he took it from Fabio. Werner was a little high.
I've read the letter about your will. A harsh method of ridiculing Santos. I doubt he will use mustache wax when he wears no mustache to begin with.
Where did you get it? Is the slug here? Tell him I shouldn't have to provide for him. He's a grown man who shouldn't sit on his uncle's neck. He conceives himself as my only heir.
And who is he to you?
He's a leech on my aging body. He has only added problems to my life since the death of his mother.
I fail to see why you made him your major domo.
He needed to know his place, so I taught him. I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
Zihin sarayına bir gidelim. Nedir Fabio Kurt Mançoz'un hislerini paramparça. Nedir? Matista Fabio'ya ritüel yapmış olabilir. Fabio'ya aşkını geri getirmeyi ritüel yapmış olabilir. Mektubu bir de Vogel'a soralım bakalım. Şey diyecek mi?
I have reason to believe that the intended recipient of the incriminating letter may have been Kurt Manchios.
Well, that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember how I came to possess it. Though I did spend quite some time with Mr. Manchios during the party.
Unfortunately, even with an answer, that may still not be enough to clear you with the police. But fear not, I will persevere.
I hope your attempt to put things straight will make up for...
You being on a bender?
Touché.
Werner Vogel mektubu çeşitli maddelerin etkisindeyken almış. Yürüten dayıya soralım bakalım bir de.
This letter proves nothing. Fabio wrote it to Mr. Manchios. It's time to free Mr. Vogel.
Do you really think I'm that naive? I need proof, not words from his friend.
Very well. Mr. Pinchetti told me that Mr. Manchios was lavishing Fabio with expensive and eccentric gifts. The letter mentions rich rewards and attempts to buy Fabio with them. It was written to Mr. Manchios. Who else was showering Fabio with luxuries to buy him? It doesn't fit Mr. Vogel's character.
Look here. We had a deal. Give me the murderer and then take your friend with you. I won't budge otherwise.
Well, fine, but you're just wasting time.
Continue our investigation while I look for the papers.
Tabii zihin sarayında ne var ki? Saray 2'de 1 böyle yaptığına göre yani ritüel bir kılıfmış. Tamam. Tamam. Aha. Mevzu çıktı. Katil Kurt Manchios. Yıllar boyunca Fabio, Kurt Manchios'un kalbiyle oynadı ve genç sanatçıya olan ilgisini suistimal etti. Manchios bir kez daha reddedilince Fabio'yu öldürdü ve şüpheleri üstünden atmak için bir aşk ritüeli sahneledi. Saldırgan Kurt Manchios, Fabio'yu soğukkanlılıkla öldürdü. Suçu Matista'yı yapmak için bir ritüel izlenimi yarattı. Şüpheden kaçınmak için mektubu Vogel'in cebine koydu. Manchios, başkalarının hayatına değer vermiyor ve asılmayı hak ediyor. Aşk cinayeti. Kurt Manchios'un kalbi kırılmış ve paniklemiş. Amacı Fabio'yu öldürmek değilmiş. O an suçu örtbas etmek için aklına bir ritüel yapmak gelmiş. Hapis cezası onun için yeterli olmalı. Zaten en büyük cezası aşkının ölümü olmuş. Cezası mı idam mı? Pezevenge idam gider. Dönelim. Önce bir itiraf ettirelim bu şerefsize.
The murder of Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. It was staged by a man who wished to distract the investigation.
That might be true. That poor girl Matista wouldn't dare to kill the only man who cared for her. So, Santos.
Mr. Pinchetti snatched at the chance to solve his problems.
Ungrateful little scum. Will he be executed?
But what for? He informed the police as to the crime, that was all. He couldn't stage the ritual, but he found the body, I believe.
I can't believe it. Why did Werner do it?
Mr. Vogel. He had no reason, and he won't be a scapegoat as you planned. You put Fabio's letter in his pocket when he was intoxicated, didn't you?
You can't be serious.
We can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes or their fingernails. You are a meticulous person, but this murder was fairly traumatic and filthy. After you stabbed Fabio, you were covered in blood. You panicked and neglected to rinse the soap from under your fingernails. The devil is in the details, Mr. Manchios.
Nonsense. I missed it simply because of the busy schedule of the party.
Of course, a staged murder was certainly not planned. You're at the twilight of your life. You have no partner, you have no children. You had feelings, however, for one man. That was Fabio. You loved him. That is, you wished to own him with money and gifts. But he was also a free mind, was he not? He turned his back on you. Quite unjust. Love, so cruel and painful, and Fabio, with his words and deeds, made you feel the more wretched. So you killed him.
You must surely perceive that my sensitive nature wouldn't allow me to hurt anyone.
You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you, since you were the one who wrote the scenarios for the parties. It was your way of avoiding suspicion. A respectable man in his 60s,
Early 60s.
who hosts the cream of Cordona's society, cannot possibly be a murderer. But the guests who behave like animals in his mansion, of course, one of them could have killed Fabio.
I did oversee a few of the rituals, but I did not stage Fabio's death.
Fabio played with your feelings. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way that you would have liked. You wanted to be loved, but Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You were passionate, and so you struck him. Once you understood your mistake, it was too late. You were afraid, so you staged the ritual. With such a story, you might be sentenced to a few years. It might clean your conscience, and soon the case will be forgotten.
No. No.
This is my decision. I'll talk to Constable Oswald to see what I can do.
I wish everything were different.
There's no fool like an old fool. Kurt Manchios did it. A young boy played with the heart of an old man. The latter couldn't handle it. The evidence I obtained clearly shows that the quarrel was not intended to end badly. It was an accident.
Showing pity towards your own kind, Holmes. Whatever.
All I'm saying is that prison won't take much away from an old and crushed man.
Fine. A big name like that will still give me a promotion. As for my part, not everything was in place. Perhaps some documents were transferred somewhere else, but I couldn't find a trace of them. Then I remembered. The discarded document drawers where we put the lost papers or the badly labelled ones, including the crime scene report of Violet Holmes's case. Everything I've found is on the desk here. Take it.
Your persistence has saved me.
Yeah, well, we had a deal after all. Your friend is free then. You can leave.
Good luck, Constable.
Vaka bitti. Ne diyor? Numaralı tutanak. Olay yerine gelen memurlar Bayan Violet Holmes olarak tanımlanmış olan maktulü Stenwood Malikanesi'nin bahçesinde yerde bulmuştur. Görsel inceleme sonucunda maktulün tamamen ıslak olduğu, boğazında da 5 santimlik derin ve dikey bir kesik olduğu görülmüştür. Yüzü şişmiş ve kırmızı lekelerle kaplı halde bulunmuştur. Muhtemel ölüm nedeni boğulma. Adli tabip onayı bekleniyor. Adli tabipten. Ana şüpheli Otto Richter olay yerinde tutuklanmıştır. Ceset otopsiye gönderilmiştir.
The garden. There's a garden behind our manor. How could I...
Arkadaşlar bir videomuzdan daha sonuna geldik. Bir sonraki videoda görüşmek üzere. Kendinize iyi bakın.